And we're back to answer some more viewer questions, which seems like a pretty good time to bring up how relatively futile and unrealistic it is to be able to get to everyone's questions. As we have rocketed past 7,000 subscribers, there's just simply no way for me to keep up with all of the messages and questions that I receive on a daily basis, due in part to YouTube's abysmal messaging system. It's not very straightforward nor organized, and just sifting through that messaging system is a bit of a pain. Add that to the number of messages I receive, and there's just simply no way to get to them all, though I have tried, which was inevitable as the channel has grown. I knew at some point there was going to have to be a lot more discretion in the questions that I choose to answer. So in order to make it easier for you, I'm going to give a few tips to make it more likely to have your question answered. Number one is to ask something that I haven't already answered. I do tend to get a lot of the same questions over and over and over that have already been answered in a previous mailbag. So you might want to watch the mailbag playlist before asking your question. It may have already been answered. 2. If it contains a link, even a link to another YouTube video, YouTube will put it automatically in my spam folder, or likely spam as they call it, which is even more of a pain to sift through than the regular inbox, as it does have actual spam in there with people trying to message me to get me to join a network, of which I see no benefit to, and a whole host of other nonsense that I just rather not deal with. And so most days I don't even look in that folder. So if you include a link, you're less likely to have your question answered. And number 3, the shorter your question, the more likely it is for me to answer it, because it just simply takes less time. I do get a lot of people who send me multiple paragraphs to read through just to get to a question. Not only does it take time to edit those questions down for the video, sometimes I'll read the entire thing, which will take up several minutes of video. I would much rather things be more streamlined. And so I don't need a whole history just leading up to a question unless it's absolutely necessary. There are times when I will answer long questions, but there is a far greater chance that your question will be skipped over if it's of novel length. And none of us like to have our time wasted. I certainly don't, which is why I'm letting you know so that you don't waste your time writing a extremely detailed story just as a lead up to a question or multiple questions. Do you know any way I can contact you and write a long message? There's a lot of things I want to ask you about, but I worry that if I type it all in a comment, it'll be so long that YouTube will cut it off like it usually does. And that's what I'm talking about. You have to understand that everyone else wants to ask me questions as well. And so if you just go blah and throw everything at me at once, it's far more likely for you to be passed over for the questions that are short and to the point. In fact, many of the same people have had their questions answered multiple times because they've kept them short and to the point. And so it's far better for you to spread your questions out over multiple messages, waiting for one to be answered and then another, etc., than for you to write 3 or 4 paragraphs full of questions all at once. The exception to long messages are success stories. I really do enjoy everyone's success stories and may even share those in a video. But for the most part, long messages are the ones that I'll skip. Most people's messages of gratitude and thanks are kept pretty short. I don't mind those at all. But we've come to that point where it's just unrealistic for me to get to them all. And we have been for some time. But now I have to actually acknowledge it and spend these 5+ minutes going over it to hopefully save a bunch of time down the line. So without further ado, let's get into it. I am sorry, Frater. I have asked in a long text a question. As soon as I sent, I reopened your channel and I glimpsed before any other the video entitled Are You in Abundance? The Ace of Cups. And it is precisely the answer I was looking for. If you want to talk further on my question text, I will receive it gladly. But just to let you know, I got what the question is asking on the video that I have watched before, but maybe didn't have raised this question so specifically in my mind. Thank you. And yeah, that's kind of how it works. A lot of the questions that we ask will be answered by the subconscious. This is certainly how I come into a lot of my knowledge, is by meditating on the questions that I want answered, and then I let go of that and the answers will come to me. Or if I have a question to ask of somebody, I'll send off a question, and after sending it off, I will come across the answer. This is how the subconscious works. It's just like when we talked about when you're trying to remember something and it's on the tip of your tongue, but the more you try to remember it, the more difficult it is to remember it. But when you give up and let it go, all of a sudden it pops into your mind. Just like all magic, it will not manifest until you let go of it from the conscious mind. Because then, and only then, is when the subconscious can take hold of that to work upon it and provide you either the manifestation or the answer you're looking for. It's another reason why meditation is such a key practice. You meditate on your question, and then you let go and forget about it. And then you will receive the answer. And there's no apology necessary. These are things that you wanted to know. And now that you have a better understanding of how these things work, you'll be more likely to want to save yourself a bunch of time and send off short questions that would have led you to the answer just as easily. In fact, a lot of the questions that people ask of me, this is how I answer them. Because at first I'll read them and my subconscious mind will be like, oh yes, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and want to answer the question in a textbook sort of way. And a lot of times I have to resist that and go on to other things and forget about it for a while, and then a totally different answer will pop into my head. A more wise answer will come to me through the subconscious mind. If I can do it, you can do it as well. The entire trick to it is just letting go of it for a while. Just stop thinking about it. I mean, it's that easy. People tend to make things way harder than they need to be by use of their conscious mind, because the conscious mind loves complexity. The subconscious mind loves simplicity. Polar opposites to each other. And so the answer will either just come to you in your mind as if you had downloaded it, or you'll come across the answer in some form of synchronicity. And it would be precisely what you were looking for, as in this listener's case. Thank you so much for this information. I was just seeking it a few days ago. Just when I needed to hear this. Ha! Well, I'm glad that info was provided. I see it happens all the time, and I commonly get these types of messages. Seek and ye shall find. But the part they leave out is the letting go. Seek and then let go, and ye shall find. Should be the saying. I really appreciate what you're doing with the mystery school. Very educational. Just like to point out, in the Judgment and Gratitude video, you state there are 2 videos about Taparith, one being an hour long and one being 3 hours long. The links are not in the video nor in the description, though you say you're going to put the link to it right up here. The full video is 3 hours long, and I'm going to put the link to that right up here. Those links are nowhere to be found. Hi, I have been watching your Mystery School videos from the beginning, and I just got to 16, Judgment and Gratitude, and the links to Separat of Taparith videos have been removed. Is the video you're referring to still available for viewing? I feel reluctant to continue watching without having seen the video you were talking about. Thanks. Well, don't let that be a reason to not continue. Yeah, I get this question quite a bit, as it seems that those videos tend to be taken down each time I post them. YouTube has become a lot more strict with copyright. I'm going to assume that that's the reason. Or the person deleted it from their account, what have you. But the video in question is The Divine Matrix by Greg Branst. I will post the title of the video in the description, and those looking for it can do a search on YouTube, as there seem to be ones that go up just as quickly as they're taken down. Again, that's The Divine Matrix by Greg Branst. Can I start my neophyte grade before I obtain a tarot card deck? Yes. I live in North Korea, and they don't sell those original cards that the books recommend, and it's going to take a little while to find one. Yes, you don't have to wait on obtaining a tarot deck or the other implements. You can start right away and obtain the necessary implements as you go. But it's not going to hinder you if you don't have a tarot deck. Just add it to the practice when you can. Hello, I just began listening to your videos, and I thank you for posting and sharing your knowledge and experience. What I need to know is how to avoid pissing off or offending the spirits. I've been trying to learn all I can before I attempt any rituals. I understand about nature spirits a bit and would like to learn more about how to avoid offending them as well. I am an avid camper, so that's important. Any advice would be appreciated. Thank you. Yes, those testy nature spirits. Well, one of the best things to do is avoid sacred sites. But these aren't always apparent or obvious to us. One of the best ways to facilitate the spirits is to get in the practice of making offerings. And we make these offerings for peace and cooperation with the spirits. Some of the most common offerings would be incense, candles, a small glass of rum, cigars, tobacco, and food, such as small cakes. It really depends on the type of spirit and what they like. Daily offerings in this manner are a good way to get the local spirits around where you live to be on your side and not take action against you, but to actually help you. Incense is my preferred option, or small candles, but again, it depends on which spirits I'm contacting and trying to pacify, for a lack of a better way of putting it. And it would be up to you as to which would be best suited for you going camping. If you're burning things, you're going to want to keep those things contained, obviously. I wouldn't worry so much about trying to avoid offending them, because so many things can. But instead, making an offering and showing that you do not intend to offend them, and that you have brought something for them. And in return, you will ask for peace and safe passage through their land, and that you will leave it as you found it as much as possible. Do this with a sense of gratitude towards them, and this should help you avoid many problems. Is it normal to get headaches after doing rituals sometimes? It could be unrelated, but it seems to happen most after any kind of magical operation. Anyone else experience this? It can be. I recall getting headaches during the neophyte grade. Sure. I mean, you're starting to change yourself, and you are not accustomed to the energy flowing through you in these ways, which in turn can cause sudden headaches, muscle aches, etc. But these things do pass in time as you begin to get accustomed to it. You may want to take a little bit more time during the relaxation phase at the beginning to relieve yourself of any tension that may be lingering in the body. But yes, headaches can occur, and in my particular case it was the middle pillar exercise that seemed to have the most physical effect upon me. I wouldn't worry too much about it unless it is something that is continuous, that doesn't go away. And if that's the case, I would rule out magic as the cause. My magical advice is not meant as a substitute for medical advice. Which brings us to the next question. Do you know of any healing spells? My mom thinks she could have a kidney stone and I really need something to help. Well, your mom thinking she has a kidney stone doesn't sound the same as actually having a kidney stone, although the thinking could bring that about. So the first thing to do would to have her diagnosed to find out if she actually has a kidney stone, or if there is another particular issue. This is not only important from a medical standpoint, but a magical one as well, as healing spells are simply more effective when targeting specifics, rather than for just general healing. That said, a white candle dressed with healing oil and corresponding herbs, or blends from your local occult shop, can work wonders. You simply approach it in the same way that we approached the money candle spell, staring into the candle flame and visualizing and feeling that that person is healed as of that moment, with gratitude for about a half hour or so. If you want to supercharge it, go ahead and add the sigil of the Archangel Raphael, the divine healer, and call upon him as well, and make your petition to him to have the person healed, while you focus upon his sigil and visualizing him. I've also had a bit of success with the new Avatar Power System by Jeff Gray Cobb, although his books are quite expensive. But the thing about healing spells is that they can be very difficult when done by the person needing healing or by those close to them, because after the spell is done you have to forget about it, which is quite difficult to do if you're the one in pain, and also difficult to do if you're the one worried about the person who you are close to. So if you're going to go that route, you need to be certain that you're able to forget the spell that you have done. I don't know if you'll receive this email or not, Frater, but in the off chance you do, I wish to tell you how fortunate I am to have run into your YouTube page. All your videos, the Words of Power and Sigil Magic video, you're very good at teaching this, and those videos are excellent. I replay all your videos over and over on YouTube and the ones I purchased, and I look forward to more. Truly, this info is life-changing and life-saving. The 30-day challenge at the beginning to say, I reject that thought, actually works. I truly was skeptical about it and thought it was a bunch of crap, but it isn't. Not sure why, but it works. Not just that, the Words of Power, the sigils, it all works. Changing the thoughts changes the mind and the heart. I know you never wanted to do this and certainly don't want gratitude, but you have our thanks nonetheless, and our gratitude for your willingness to do this anyway. It has changed our lives and set us on a whole new path we really had no interest in walking, yet are compelled to walk. For what it's worth, thank you. I cannot wait for the next lesson, next video segment, drinking it in. And yes, I have read and researched elsewhere, but no one seems to put it in terms I can understand as easily as you do. I am a willing and grateful student. No name part of the lesson, not giving out our magical names. Though you probably already have it from my PayPal purchase, these videos are worth every penny paid for them. And I appreciate the email. It was actually a 90-day exercise of banishing and rejecting negative thoughts. But if you experience a change within just 30 days, that's great. The idea is for it to become a habit, to where you do that without even thinking about it. You just reject negative thoughts automatically. And as you've discovered, yes, it works. The problem most people have is they just don't stick with it and give up before they complete it. Those really wanting to change, however, will stick with it. I mean, you have to do it in order to get the results. Yes, the Sigil Magic course, Manifesting Reality, it works if you take the time to do it. It's not difficult at all. All you need is a pen and a piece of paper, or even print them out from your computer. But in order to get the results, you have to do the work. And I've made it as simple as possible for anyone to pick this up and without any experience do magic to begin to change their life starting today. And I'm also working on a new program with a whole host of magician tricks that are very, very simple to do and yet yield very powerful results. And I hope to have that available to everyone very soon. And that's about all the time we have for today. I will be back with an all-new lesson, and until then, as always, take care.